Holy Trap, a Hindu student's journey through culture shock and faith attacks in America. Written by Rakesh Krishnan Simha. Akriti Pandit left the familiarity of suburban Mumbai for a new life as an engineering student in Texas, only to find herself grappling with isolation, workplace tension, and unexpected encounters with religious evangelism and predatory Muslim colleagues. In this deeply personal reflection, she shares the lessons she learned about faith, boundaries, and staying grounded far from home. Akriti Pandit, name changed, a 43-year-old only child from Mumbai, has always been deeply introverted, so much so that she typically avoids crowds and confrontation altogether. Those who know her well, however, understand that beneath her quiet demeanor lies a warm, goofy personality and a sharp, engaging conversationalist, once she feels at ease. Raised in the famed suburb of Mumbai, she was especially close to her mother and developed strong spiritual and academic inclinations from a young age. Her parents, simple and optimistic in outlook, raised her to be respectful, inclusive, and kind to everyone she met. While Akriti absorbed these values, she also cultivated a necessary caution about the world around her. I have always been very particular about whom I hung out with, and, therefore, used to have very few friends, she says. Also, I am not fond of crowds, and I get nervous when it comes to talking in a group of more than 3 people. In 2003, having earned excellent grades in engineering, she made a bold leap, leaving India to pursue her master's degree in nanoengineering at the University of Texas at Arlington. At that time, nanotechnology was still in its infancy, and she was well ahead of the curve. But the academic rigor turned out to be the easier part of her journey. Part 1. The Evangelical vultures on campus. What she hadn't anticipated was the cultural shock, and even more, the subtle but persistent pressure from religious evangelists on campus. I was this weird misfit in a very boisterous society, she recalls of her first few weeks in Texas. She found it difficult to adjust to a place where loud personalities and extroversion were the social norm. But it wasn't just cultural dissonance. Almost immediately, Akriti noticed a coordinated effort by Christian evangelists to target international students, particularly newcomers. Almost from day one at Arlington, I ran into Christian evangelists involved in brainwashing and converting new immigrants, she says. They usually target newly enrolled students in and around the campuses. Unfortunately, most of the students going abroad aren't aware of this phenomenon, which doesn't exist in most Indian states. She was unaware that Texas was part of the so-called Bible Belt, a region in the southern United States where evangelical Protestantism plays a dominant cultural role. Over time, she observed the strategic placement of churches around campus. Interestingly, many of these churches are placed strategically in and around the university campuses, she says. I found it weird that there were divisions among churches as well. I was surprised to find that there were Baptist, Catholic, Episcopal, Methodist, Evangelical, Missionary, Lutheran, Pentecostal, non-denominational, and Presbyterian churches, to name a few. I had never heard of some of these names before. Later, I learned that the members of each church don't visit the other churches. Really strange. And these guys have the gall to lecture us about caste, sex, and Sampradayas. During orientation week, Akriti started making new acquaintances, and that's when she met Charles and Aaron, 2 seemingly friendly American students. Though not part of her department, they joined her group often and offered to help them explore the campus. One day, they invited everyone to a community center to relax and have free coffee and pizza. As she recalls, he stressed on the word free. The center, filled with games and casual furniture, initially seemed welcoming. Charles and Aaron even impressed the Indian students by showing off their Hindi skills. They were proudly showing off their Hindi-speaking skills. What surprised me was that they could also write in Hindi. They knew the usage of all the alphabets in the Devanagari script, and I could only imagine the time and effort they must have put in to learn all this. As the evening progressed, pizza and soda were served, and more international students arrived, many simply eating and leaving. As far as I remember, I was the only foreign student who did not touch the free food. Soon, the gathering revealed its true nature. The gathering was sneakily turned into an impromptu Bible study class so that unsuspecting new students could be introduced to Christianity, she says. I'm glad I didn't touch that free food. I also came to know that Aaron and Charles had plans to travel to India to spread love, the same Christian love that had devastated numerous countries and killed millions of innocent people. That night, shaken by the experience, Akriti returned to her apartment and shared everything with her Indian roommates. They were not surprised. They told me such activities had been going on for years, and that these evangelists had managed to lure some Indian students into Bible studies with the bait of free food. Some of these Indians had become regulars at these classes. Faith ambush at every crossing. One of the most disconcerting realities she encountered was how these proselytization efforts weren't confined to churches or campus groups. They infiltrated even the most mundane public spaces. You may be waiting at a pedestrian crossing for the walk sign to appear, and out of the blue, you will be accosted by some Bible-thumping agents targeting students at that very spot, she says. These so-called agents, she notes, were often elderly. They ask questions like, do you want to be saved? What is your faith? Do you believe Jesus is the Savior? And so on, she recalls. Her advice to students like her? The best policy is to ignore them and walk away as soon as possible. But if they cross their limit and try to corner you or get pushy, it doesn't hurt to give them an earful. But not all tactics were so overt. Akriti describes a more manipulative approach that took place at her very doorstep. One hot afternoon, a man rang her doorbell claiming to be dizzy from the heat and asking for water. The first time this happened to me, I naively asked the Christian man to come inside, she says. Once seated, he began probing into her personal life, her faith, her family, her roots. He then left, only to return the next day with 2 other men. Only then did the true nature of the visit reveal itself. Predictably, all 3 Christian geriatrics started harping on about Jesus, his work, his love, and whatnot. It's only after observing the Bible in their hands that I realized they were missionaries. I felt really stupid not to see this coming. They then attempted to lure her with what seemed like a welcome gift basket. But no way was I going to touch that. I simply refused to accept anything from them, citing that I don't accept freebies, and asked them politely to respect my wish. They left. The next time they rang my doorbell, I refused to open the door. Her roommates, familiar with the area, were not surprised by the encounter. They told me the entire area was infested with such predators and that I must stay far from them for my own safety. They also warned her about other tactics used by these groups, such as befriending and dating foreign students to lure them into conversion. There was even a truck driver from a remote Indian village who had joined their ranks and began targeting Indian students, she recalls. Akriti share 5 full tips. Determined not to fall prey to such manipulation, Akriti developed a mental checklist for self-protection and now shares it with others. If you refuse to accept their freebies, decline their offers to check out their Bible group, and be stern with them, it's not hard to keep the Christian evangelist away, she explains. Based on her experience, here are 10 survival strategies she offers. Look the part. During my student days, I tried to look as studious as possible, Akriti says. She switched from contact lenses to glasses, oiled her hair, and avoided makeup. It made me look like a nerd. It reinforces the impression that nerds only love books and have no time for other activities. It works well to some extent. Stand your ground. If you encounter nagging, unpleasant people, give it back without fear. They will back off. In the U.S., the laws are very clear and strictly enforced. If they don't back off, the police can book them for disturbing the peace. Deflect flattery tactfully. Many American Christian boys praise Indian girls because they find them exotic. They ask us to have coffee with them. If you want to avoid them, tell them this seriously. In my culture, it is important to talk to parents and seek their blessings. Most boys wouldn't see you again after that. Parental radar. Akriti made her new friends, regardless of gender, talk to her parents. Parents have the amazing ability to sense who is safe or harmful for their young ones. Stay safe. Never go out alone in remote places in and around the campus at odd hours. Call out condescension. Missionaries have this habit of using you guys when they talk to us. It's a condescending way of addressing